Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Wait
afternoon.
for good afternoon, Sudha ma'am.
Good
We just wait
afternoon.
for a few minutes for teachers to join in. I can see some people joining in,
Yeah,
and then to begin the session now.
sure, sure.
All right, everyone. Hi, ma'am. So I think we've waited for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
At this point, it's a good time to begin with the session.
Yeah.
So once again, welcome everyone to this session, another exciting session of the Commune. Today, we're going to continue talking about developing listening skills. However, in today's session, we'll talk more about how to assess them, how to work on analyzing the students, assessing so that you can help them very specifically in developing listening skills. Last time, we understood what are the listening skills, how important they are, how you can develop them in the classroom, different activities that you can do to assess them, to develop listening skills in the classroom. Today, we're going to talk about how you can assess. Where does a student stand? How you can help him specifically and in a better way to develop and grow listening skills. Improve on listening skills, actually, not grow, improve on listening skills. So with this,
we're also going to talk about some of the difficulties, why people face difficulties in listening, etc. So let me see how much. I always get enthusiastic and try to pack in, but yeah.
Perfect. So with this, ma'am, I'll not take a lot of your time. Over to you, Sudhama.
Yeah.
And the rule stays the same. I'm going to mute everybody in another 2 minutes. Please keep your mics on mute. Should you have any queries, please put it on the chat box. My team is here to take up all the questions that you send in the chat box, and we'll take it up towards the end of the session. Please do not raise your hand during the session. It's a little distracting for the resource. And rest assured, if you put a message in the chat box, we'll take it up. Thank you so much. Sudha ma'am, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Give me a minute.
I hope everybody is connected via audio. So there are a couple of teachers who are not connected via audio. If they are one of your friends or schoolmates or colleagues, please ask them to connect via audio. They've not connected on audio. They won't be able to listen to anything. And again, people who are active, you would want to make a note of all those active people in the group.
Just a minute. Looks like I closed my PPT, so I'm just looking.
No problem. No problem.
Give me 2 minutes. Where did it go?
Meanwhile, may I request everybody to share anything that they remember from the previous session?
Yeah.
Let's do a quick recap. Let's see what you remember from the previous session. Just put it on the chat box. I'm having a look at it. I'm looking at the chat box. What do you remember from the previous session on developing listening skills? I'm sure a lot of you attended the previous sessions.
Yeah.
Nothing. Nobody remembers anything. Wow.
Looks like.
Or you're still figuring out how to send a chat message.
So can you all see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So we're going to look at what more to listening. Okay. So what is there that we can still talk about in listening? So one of the main things, teachers, that we need to remember is when we listen, we are listening to respond and not react. Okay. Many a times before the other person even has just completed half of what he or she wants to say, or they even just open the mouth to say something, we have already decided what that person is going to say by looking at the body language. When a student comes to us, in this case specifically, we are talking of students, so the way they come to us, we know, or we have preconceived notion about that child. We know he's a naughty child, he's whatever are the notions about that child in our mind. So accordingly, the moment the child opens his or her mouth, we start saying something. Okay. So what we have done, we have reacted, because when we listen, we respond, and we need to listen in entirety, in its the complete message. The child may have something to say, maybe sharing some good news, maybe excited about something, anxious about something, upset about something. So dismissive kind of an attitude is what comes out. So there where we have to respond, because listening is the foundation of all effective communication. When we truly listen and give a response to what we listen, the speakers feel you get them. Speaker in this case is our students. They know, okay, teacher understands me. She gets me. She knows me. She gave me that 2 minutes and heard me out. Okay. If you would like to develop your listening skills and connect with the person you are in conversation with, focus on finding meaning in what you hear. So don't focus on the person, don't focus on his style, don't focus on his body language, but what he utters and what is the meaning of those words or that entire utterance per se. What is he or she's trying to say? Okay. Think of listening as paying attention so that you can learn. It's very important. That's how we also learn about the person, right? We come to know so many things. So listening is for responding, and we need to have, it's a cultivated habit. This won't happen overnight. We all may say, I listen, I fully respect, I know, but when you actually delve deeper and when you really start thinking about these points very objectively, then we all realize that we need to work on ourselves to be better listeners. Okay. At home, at school, with friends. And when we start listening and responding, when we speak, people listen to us too. Okay. It works both ways, it cuts both ways. Okay. Children then start listening to you because you listen to them. That's how the whole concept of respect, doing the work that you give them, starts happening. Okay. When you pay attention and listen to them. So concentrate on the words that are spoken, understand information by involving in the conversation. Once they finish speaking, sound involved, interested, participative, ask questions, and because you have paid attention and listened earlier, you will probably able to suggest some solutions. Okay, some ways for which, I mean, some methods by which they could solve the issue that they have come to you with. Okay, so be alert to how. Himani, I think somebody from Madhuban, please take care.
I'm just muting everybody. I'll request, ma'am, if you could unmute yourself.
Okay. Okay, fine. Be alert to how the words are spoken. Do not interrupt. Avoid talking over the person who is speaking. This anxiety to talk over the person. Somebody is saying something and we just butt in and start speaking. Okay, ask open-ended questions. Okay, not yes or no questions, but open-ended questions where there is a possibility of having a conversation. Listening requires being at a highly involved level. This is what I said a few minutes ago. Your involvement is very important. Okay. Like I openly tell teachers, Are you attending a workshop or a webinar because your school wants you to? There is no choice. Or you are attending because you'll get a certificate. How involved are you? How committed are you? Is there some learning happening? And if I'm learning something, see, we will be very keen and we will be very interested in trying it out. So as teachers, whatever the effort that, this whole commune initiative by Madhuban, it's being done, it's very, very nice. And for every topic, you're getting more than one session. So a lot of things are being suggested. You people need to go and try it out in your classrooms and share your feedback with the Madhuban team. They are absolutely, they are all right in the front and helping you. So I'm not saying because I'm doing it for them, but I see that there is that synergy, there is that involvement, okay? A genuine reason for doing it and helping teachers out there, okay? So listening requires being at a highly involved level by asking WH questions such as who, what, where, when, how, that pertain to what the speaker is talking about, shows that you are listening. How did it happen? Who was there? What did you do? Where were you at that time? Did you cry? Yes or no? Answer is only possible, right? Why did you? So, why is more important rather than asking simply, did you or do you? Those only lead to yes or no answers, isn't it? So what are the main types of listening? We have what is called as intensive listening and extensive listening. I'm repeating it, maybe. I talked about it in brief, but this is very important because in the classroom, you will have to do both types of listening for your children. Can anybody type in the chat box examples of intensive listening first? Please type in the chat box. Don't raise your hand or no need to.
We are following you on the chat box.
Uh,
So whatever you write, I'll read it out.
yeah. Good, Urvi, that you are doing this practice in your class. Yeah, I want you people to give me examples of.
Let's take some examples of intensive listening. Extensive listening, sorry.
No, intensive. I first asked for intensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Teachers?
Can we type?
Yeah. Let's take some examples of intensive listening. Please type it in the chat box. I'm sending a hi to everybody on the listening to any announcement.
Okay. Okay. Intensive listening. All right. Then?
What else? Reading the lessons.
Okay.
Announcements.
How is reading the, okay, we'll take it up later towards the end, maybe, without getting distracted at this point. Okay, so, and what is extensive listening? Can somebody give me a good example of extensive listening?
Watching a movie really loud, reading loudly, watching a movie.
Okay.
Enjoying stories for meetings.
Story listening is a very, very good example of extensive listening. Some one person telling a story and the others listening to it. So we need to pair intensive and extensive listening in very small classes. In primary school, one very good activity for intensive listening is giving dictation. Reading out words, asking them to listen and put it in the notebook. So very good practice, very good practice. This can be done by all teachers. It's not just English teachers. science teacher, social science teacher, technically everybody should be doing dictation. Very, very good way to expose students to the pronunciation of a word, what, how that word is spelled. So the spelling, the pronunciation, and the meaning. So tomorrow when they come across this word in a text, they will start correlating it. So you can start with a dictation activity, actually, which is intensive listening. Okay. So then you do a quick spell check. You can put the correct spelling on the board and they all can correct their own dictation, right? The third thing you can do as a part of this activity without leaving it right in the middle, just like that, just by doing a, just by doing a dictation doesn't make sense. The third thing you could do is meaning. Okay, they can tell you if they know the meaning of the words. So you are actually compiling they are compiling their own classroom dictionary. Okay, so each person is writing. So for every day, imagine you just take up 5 words a day, whichever class it is. Obviously the level of the words, the spelling also kind of becomes tougher. You might have words where the spelling is totally different, the way the word is pronounced is totally different. All these things are very common in English. So imagine 5 words a day, 5 days a week, 25 words, 4 weeks, 100 words, 3 months. Okay, how many words? 300 words. So imagine the amount of activity that can be generated in the classroom. You could use the text itself to give words, ask them to write meanings. That could be a collaborative activity. How many know the meaning? How many find out? So it can be coupled with a dictionary activity. That is why I said just keep 5 words. Okay, so entire activity will get completed in about 10 minutes time, right in the beginning. So what you are doing, you are every day exposing them, so sharpening their listening skills. So they will also get enthused and interested. Oh, okay, today I should get all my 5 words correct. All right. So that is how intensive listening. Now, how can you pair it? You can do it when you're teaching a poem. So when you're teaching a poem, then what happens? They are listening to individual words, sounds, and then, they are also trying to get the meaning of the poem overall. Okay, overall, what is the poet trying to say, the gist, the summary, etc. So this way, a poem can be used very, very effectively to teach both intensive and extensive. A story in the textbook can be used to teach both intensive and extensive listening, for example. Okay, so you narrate the story or you ask the children to narrate the story. You come prepared. You don't have to read it word by word. You can do a dictation activity. You can have, you can also find all the phrasal verbs, for example, used in the text. Okay. And then make a list and read that out as a dictation. So one day it could be all the adjectives, one day it could be the verbs, verbal phrases, right? Cut down, okay, like that, those kind of words. And then you can have a dictation on verbs, on adjectives, on nouns. Okay, so it could be, the focus could be parts of speech, spelling, meaning. The focus could be adjectives, like that. And then the overall narration of the story, which gives them the overall picture about the story, the characters, and then they understand the story, what happens, how it starts, how it builds up, climax, and then the closure part. So extensive reading can be done through stories. So now what happens? So when we say even assessment in listening, when you give a dictation, it is also an assessment, right? Whether they have got all the words right. But see, these things, I always say, I'm sure I would have said it last time as well. As a school, you need to start this early. And at every level, this can be done. Don't think that, oh, why should, I teach class 8. What dictation should I give? Don't class 8 children make spelling errors? Oh, of course they make. Of course they make. you can identify which words might be difficult to them. And those could be given as dictation. Words which are difficult to pronounce, where the spelling and the pronunciation are totally not, there is no connection between the way the word is written versus the way it is pronounced. Okay, so you can have different focus. So that is one way of assessing listening in the classroom. Decide your focus. For that, you have to do a little bit of activity every day. So you do Monday to Thursday. Friday, you can tell them that in this week for 4 days, we did 20 words. Okay. So we will have a little assessment. So I might be, so smartly what you have to do, you don't have to give the same words as dictation. Now you should make a little sentences with those words. Okay. And then read out those sentences or record it in your voice and keep it. So that then if you're even going to more than one section, you can use the same recording. You don't have to speak. If you have a co-teacher, one can record, one can do the activity. So teachers, look, we will have to bring all the skills in our book. Collaboration, okay, cooperation among teachers. So life skills we are talking about, and we are talking of everything from the student perspective. What about ourselves? Are we equipped? So if there are 2 teachers handling class 6 in a school, so you can sit together and you could make a list of words, expressions, sentences. So you can, while giving dictation, you could give single words, but while doing the assessment, you could give it as a sentence. So you could have an assessment where these words are used, and there are 10 sentences that they listen to, and then they have to either fill in the blanks or true or false, because now they know the meaning also. When you have done the activity, you have taught them the meaning. So it could be connected with anything. It could be true or false. It could be gap filling in one word. It could be multiple choice. You could use any type. These are types of assessment. But what are you assessing? That is the moot question. Many a times we just do an activity or an assessment for the sake of assessment. What is important is, you can, you need to decide the focus of that assessment, the objective of that assessment. What outcome are you desiring out of that activity? Whole week you have done something. Now you want to know. So how will you do it? Okay. You could have multiple ways. You could have matched the following activity because they have done meaning. You could have in one column the word, the other column the meaning. You could say the sentences, and then after that they can complete the worksheet. Okay. So there are, everything gets woven. It's all interconnected. Nothing is done in isolation in the classroom. Let us please remember that. Nothing is done as a standalone activity. Okay, it is all to be taken up together at one go. Okay, when we listen to individual words, sentences, etc., it is intensive listening. When you listen to a news report, it is extensive listening. Okay, some more examples, right? Extensive listening focuses on longer activities instead of focusing on individual parts. Extensive listening focuses on overall understanding. Now, what we are doing right now, I am talking, okay? So I'll be talking for about an hour, anywhere between 50 minutes an hour. So here, your focus is on overall what I am going to be talking about, what are the various inputs that I am giving. So certain things you may be jotting down, but the focus is more on extensive listening, where you try and understand the gist of what is spoken and what is your takeaway from that spoken utterance. So when you invite a storyteller to the school and somebody tells the story, once upon a time, this is what happened. So children get absolutely mesmerized and absorbed, and they just, they are awestruck, and they listen because that person is performing, they're using their body language effectively, eye movement, change in tone, right? All that happens. So they are very focused and listening. But at the end, if you specifically ask for a word, they may not know, okay? Because it's not an intensive kind of a thing. But if you ask them, give me the summary of this story. What did you like about this story? Okay, all those kind of things, no, you will be able to do with a story activity. That is extensive listening. Which character did you like most? So, trying to draw out their inference, trying to draw out what they understood. Now, while doing this, they may use their own words. If they are good listeners, if they are good in language, they may use their own words. Very good. That is actually commendable if they can replace the word that you narrated in the story to something that, was said by the storyteller, then it's really good that they have actually understood the story. So they are replacing a particular word by something else. So, you can, if you have a chief guest coming into the school for some function, some assembly thing, what did the chief guest say? So this question, every teacher can ask once students go back to the classroom. You might be a maths teacher, you might be a social teacher. What stops us from asking that question in the first 2 minutes? We all were outside and we all heard so and so person. What did you like about what he said? Can anybody summarize what this person said in 4 to 5 sentences? Do you agree with him? You can have such 3-4 questions. Imagine you all start doing it. Your students will start listening intently to the speaker. They'll say, oh yeah, ma'am is going to ask. So let us pay attention and let us not look here and there. Let us not look bored. Because as a school, any teacher can ask us this. Our maths teacher can ask, our English teacher can ask. It is not a prerogative of English teacher alone. Any teacher can ask me. So I better pay attention and, listen with more intent. Okay, so listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks, as I said, listening to a story. So here, teachers, you can use, this is where comes in the use of the resources provided by the publisher or whatever you have, where you can play the audio. You don't have to record, you don't have to speak it in your own, you don't have to, actually you can give few minutes rest to your throat at that point. And you can play the audio once, 2 times, and then ask them to do a little worksheet where you have given little more subjective questions. So these are the various ways by which we can push the children to listening and in the classroom. Okay. Somebody says, I'm unable to hear this meeting. Okay, fine. Why do we need intensive and extensive listening? Have different focus. I've already spoken about it. And both type of skills are essential. So the best part about, being a language teacher is that your text itself can be used for all these activities. You don't have to go and look for text outside of your books. You have the resources with you. Practice is what is required. Making it a part of your, lesson planning. Okay? Incorporating it into the lesson plan. Incorporating it as a part of classroom activity is what is required. CBSE is today talking about subject enrichment activity. Okay. They have marks set apart from class 9 right? The ASL, ALS, whatever they may call it now. But it was ASL earlier when we all got trained. And so your children, if you are primary and middle school teacher, you are preparing them. So that is subject enrichment. They are getting enriched in the English language. They are becoming better in the art of listening. So as they grow and move out of the school, wherever they are, it will become very easy to listen. They will have the focus, the temperament, and the patience to listen and also act upon what they listen. So listening to instructions, listening to description of events, listening to conversations, okay, in a board meeting. If you are certain teachers are senior teachers, you're part of the school managing committee, so meetings will happen and senior people would be talking, the management, the principal, and you are part of that entire thing, and you have to listen. And as you listen, maybe make notes. Use pen, paper, and pen, or use your mobile phone, wherever, whatever is convenient. But then, because why are you there as part of the team? Because tomorrow your principal would ask you, have you summarized the whole thing? I want the gist of yesterday's meeting. But if we haven't paid attention, what will happen? So if we understand the import of all these, this whole list that I have given here, almost 8 items, we will not be able to do it in the classroom. So you can take up each one of these, okay, in the classroom, listening to instruction, listening to description. So you can have, and I'm sure even the book has such activities. Only thing is you really need to incorporate it in the lesson plan. Again, I'm repeating, don't focus on content, teachers. Focus on skill development. That is the need of the hour. Okay? Every child is not going to tomorrow get out of school and study English literature. Okay? But they definitely need the skill of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Once they have the skill, you can give them a newspaper, you can give them a literary piece to read, you can give them a report, you can give them a magazine, anything, they will read. They can listen to a podcast, they will listen to music also. So the point is that we have to expose them. Don't take these activities given in the books. At least earlier, I'm talking of 10, 15 years ago, I have taught the Interact in English curriculum for class 9 and 10. And then, of course, 11 and 12 was always the NCERT textbooks. And I still remember many of our fraternity, many of our esteemed teachers did not believe in transacting the MCB in the classroom. The main course book is the skill book. Many publishers even call it the skill book. The skill book focuses on developing the skill. How will they know the meaning of difficult words if they are not exposed to those words? Suddenly, when it occurs in the fiction or in poetry or in drama, how will they know how to position it? What is the contextual meaning of that word? Why is it occurring in that part of the text? How can I connect it to what has been said earlier? And how does it connect to what is being said in the next? So how that word, phrase, why is it positioned there? So over a period of time, listening regularly will expose them also to sentence structures, the grammar part, which we are constantly battling with. Okay, their grammar will become better because in the subconscious mind, listening, whatever they have listened to, those structures have got embedded. But as I said, these activities have to happen regularly. There has to be a progression from simple to difficult, right? So that is what is important when we do listening in the class. So it could be multiple things, okay? From simple, they have to move to more complex listening. For example, listening to opinions, listening to suggestions. In the corporate world, they use the jargon that they use is POV. POV means point of view. And they are trained to be open to the POVs of others. The other person may be giving totally irrelevant point of view, but you have to listen. You may later dump it because it is not relevant. Okay, so listening to opinions is a skill that has to be developed among students. Now, how will that happen? When you organize a group activity, a discussion that is happening on a given topic, each person presents his point of view. So I say something, the other person says diametrically opposite to that. Okay, so those are the kind of even tests that people have to take when they do an international test like the IELTS. Okay, sharing your point of view. Do you agree? Do you disagree? If you agree, why? If you disagree, why? A statement is given. So these are higher order skills in listening itself. Now, if they have to reach there, first the lower order has to be practiced, right? The dictation, lower order skill. But from dictation is when you can take them to the next level, right? So that is what is important. I hope all that is making sense. So, so I have said all this, practicing each type every day, right? You can take one resource and use it for both. For example, if you're listening to a poem, you can focus on each word. That becomes intensive listening. And then you can listen to the poem to get the overall meaning it conveys, the rhythm, the rhyme, and all of that. Now, when we say we are assessing listening, what are we talking about? Listening to a wide range of oral texts, summarize, record, and respond to them. So as a teacher, you can start from simple, wide range, okay, and move from simple to little tough one. Okay, be able to listen for information and enjoyment and respond appropriately and critically in a wide range of situations. So when you're listening to a story, it's more for enjoyment, isn't it? But when you're listening for very critical information, for example, when a science teacher is giving instructions in the lab on how to perform the experiment, multiple times I have seen, not once or twice, as a vice principal. I mean, when I used to go on rounds, the teacher would be giving instructions and many of them are listening. And if I stand somewhere away and they don't know I'm watching them, I have seen students doing all sorts of things, fidgety, moving their hands, because they have not understood the importance of listening to instructions. Nobody has told them, right, that these instructions will be given once or twice, and then you have to work through with these instructions. See, we all are creatures of habit. Human beings are creatures of habit, all living beings rather, right? How does a cat or a dog get used? When you give food at the same time, you all know the famous Pavlov's experiment, isn't it? Experiment of conditioning. So conditioning is what we are talking about here, right? Right from junior classes, developing that skill in a systematic way so that it ultimately helps them to achieve their goal. As students, what is their goal? To listen and respond, to listen and perform an activity, to listen and follow instructions, to listen and do as per instructions. Board exam, many of you, I'm sure, have experienced that if you are an invigilator and you give instructions, here is where you have to write the name, this is where you have to write, you will show the front page of the paper and then do all that. But still there will be one student who will raise his hand and say, ma'am, I made a mistake, right? I wrote my name where I have to write my roll number. Ma'am, what should I do? I'm not saying it will not happen if you're doing this. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is cultivating a habit. Okay, these all are habit. Language is a habit. Please, let's understand that. Language is not any content that you can thrust into their head. It's not subject. It's not content in that sense. It is a habit. You use the language, you listen in the language, you speak the language, you will continue doing it. I'm a very good example of somebody who did such a difficult language like the Japanese. I invested 3 years of my life, studying this language after I did my graduation. And initially, I was very good at it because I was using it. It became a habit with my colleagues, with my friends who all knew Japanese. Then what happened? I got married, I lost touch, people moved away. I never took an employment where Japanese was essential. I tried initially, but then, certain things, so many things, help you make a decision. And I had to make a decision which was contrary. So I lost touch. Today you ask me, I have a certificate to boot, okay, to show that I've done advanced diploma in Japanese language. Okay. But if you say start talking, sorry, no, I can't. Apart from uttering a few words. Why did that happen? Because it is not my habit to use that language. So our children come from diverse backgrounds. Okay. And depending upon their ability to develop this skill, they will show different performances. Okay. The point here is not that they have to get 10 out of 10 in dictation, 10 out of 10 in fill in the blanks. No, I have not said that at all. I have not used the word marks or grades. The point is honing their skills. As teachers, that is what is our job. And then you leave it. Whatever is their capacity, accordingly they will absorb. That is what the NEP says now, isn't it? Move away from marks. Do subject enrichment activities in the class. Each of us will find our own feet in this world. Haven't all of us? How many of you really wanted to be teachers? How many of you are here by choice or by chance? But later it became the loved profession. All around us, there are crores of people who are doing what they did not start out with. Very few are lucky in doing what they started out with. So it's okay. Okay. It can become a passion later. Okay. And a child will find his feet, his passion. All right. If he develops a love for the language, he will go and pick the literature course after school. In the school, you don't need to really talk in length about the poem, or talk about the poet, Robert Frost or Williams Wordsworth, he wrote this. Why, as teachers, we need to stand there and give big lectures? What is the big idea? They don't need to know. They need to, what they need to know? They don't need to know really who wrote the poem. Sorry. What they need to know is in the time in history when this poem was written. So what was the society like? If the society was undergoing a lot of war, sadness, poverty, then the poet's work will showcase that. Because whether an author or a poet, they wrote about the society around them. They can't just like that write something. No? If they were a nature person sitting under the tree, they will write. Nizim Ezekiel stays in Mumbai. You know what is his favorite place to write poetry? Railway station. Can anybody even imagine? Nizim Ezekiel can be found sitting at Mumbai Churchgate station. Not now, he's very old, right? But that is where he wrote all his poems. Okay. What did R.K. Narayan do? He created a fictitious town called Malgudi, which is based on his own place in Karnataka, near Mysore. Okay. So it is a reflection of that period, that time. Okay. So we don't have to really, that's a little bit we need to give, because to give the context. Okay, that's all has to be our 2-bit. They don't need to know about the whole history and geography of Williams Wordsworth. Okay. They need to know that he was a nature poet. He loved walking in huge meadows and farms. And there where he found his poetry. So that is what all his poem will be about. And then leave the students to absorb. You know how I used to teach poetry? I actually never taught poetry. I would simply, first, I would just ask them to keep the book closed and read the poem one time. Then I will read it a second time. Then, third time, I will ask them to open that page and I will read, and I will ask them to follow me as I am reading and see where I am, so that they can even use a pencil and move. So 3 readings I would do. Post these 3 readings, I would give them a questionnaire, okay, which had so many questions. If the poem has 10 lines, I would try and make 50 questions. Okay. Ensure that every part is covered. I would never look at the back of the poem. I never really looked at it. I ensured that everything was covered. So if there are 2 rhyming words, I would ask them, I would never even use the word rhyming. I would say, find me 2 words, last words, which have the same sounds. And then tell them it's called rhyming. Okay. So I write from first sentence of the poem till the last, I would construct questions. If you join all these answers, what you will get is the summary of the poem. After this, I'll ask them, now you have done this exercise, tell me what you did not understand. Which line you did not understand? Take up their questions. And then ask students if anybody would like to summarize. Generally, some student would stand up and summarize. Most of the time, quite close to the actual. So I invested my time in planning. Okay, I invested my time in creating those questions. I never shouted in the class. So they were kept so busy. So there was no question of classroom issues. You may say, ma'am, you might have taught 20 years ago. At that time, there were no mobile phones. I agree, totally. In that sense, I might be very ancient. Okay. But, that is the way to keep the children in your fold. Okay. So sharing viewpoints, sharing ideas, all these things have to be done. So I'm not reading this out, or I'm not playing any audio due to paucity of time, but playing this kind of set of instructions on how to make a cup of instant coffee. Now, reorder the given sentences after listening to the audio. So this can be one activity. How, see, the activity has been changed from actually doing just, basic, you ask them to reorder. This can be given for class 8 and 9 students. Then listen to the instructions a second time and complete the summary on coffee making. Okay, I have a teaspoonful of Himani, give me a second. Somebody is at the door and I'm alone. So
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. No problem. So teachers, does anybody have any questions? So far, I was going through the chat. I don't see a question. If anybody has a question, I think this is a good time. You could, I don't mind you raising your hand at this point. If anybody would like to raise their hand, if anybody would like to ask on the chat box.
Yeah, we were seeing hands being raised earlier.
All right.
Yeah, okay. So see, the same listening of instruction exploited in two ways. Okay, where reordering is happening. So reordering requires a lot of concentration. You should know in which order the teacher has read out the instruction. So if you have given them sufficient practice, then you can do this. Now, what are the difficulties in listening? There are many reasons why humans tend to hear rather than listen in a conversation. Too busy preparing a response. Many of us would rather talk than listen. In some conversations, we are too busy preparing a response, therefore fail to listen to what the speaker is saying. This you must have seen in your classroom also. Many students, before you can complete, would want to give the answer. Even before you have asked the question, they will raise their hand without knowing the question. So as you are teaching, they are busy preparing that response for you because they want to be, there is that one-upman thing. They want to be the first one to answer. So these are the kind of issues that come up while listening. But when you train in listening, see, it's like this. Suddenly one day because you have been playing the game of how to drive a car, you sit behind the wheels and start driving. That is not going to work, right? You start from step one. Today, don't we see on the roads how youngsters are driving? They have just learned how to actually use the steering, right? How to use the accelerator. Today, automatic cars, even that is not required. And they just move on the roads. They are least bothered about rules. They do not respect the other person on the road. They don't have any road sense, road rules, nothing, isn't it? So if it is cultivated in any school, if right from class 1 to 8, it is practiced like everyday activity for 5 to 7 minutes, okay, you will see the difference. Just do it for 1 month, because I am telling you, an experienced person, and then let me know how it works. Okay, so that is important, right? Too distracted. That is also because we have never done focused listening. Nobody has asked us to listen and do an activity based on it. Okay, that is why there is too much of distraction. Also, today we are living in a world of technology. Our thought speed is greater than our listening speed. How many times have we been on a phone call and simultaneously checking our emails or doing something else? Though we might hear what is being said, we cannot really listen while multitasking. And how do we come to know this? Later on, that person may say, hey, that day when I called, I told you this. Oh, did you? I don't think so. Were you doing something else? Oh, yeah, I was checking my mails. So try doing it. You can't. Okay, multitasking is a myth. Multitasking is not something good, and we cannot multitask. We cannot even boil our milk and put it on the gas and boil the milk and cut the fruits or vegetables standing next. Okay, invariably the milk will boil over, because that one split second we would be paying attention to the fruit or vegetable that we are cutting. Okay, so multitasking doesn't happen. We are not wired that way. Okay, so today many people have understood, and people don't multitask. Do one thing at a time and you will be more successful. Okay. Speaker's appearance has a great impact on the listener. Now, this is so true. If the teacher, how the teacher is, what is her attitude, good or bad, everything passes on from one class to the other. Okay, so children have formed an opinion about you. Once they pass out and go to the next class, the students who are going to come to you already know about you. Okay, how you look, how you teach. Okay, so listeners begin to form an opinion of the speaker even before he or she starts speaking. That can be a barrier too. Okay, a resource person. Okay, a speaker invited to the school. The moment they open their mouth and speak 2 sentences, we decide, oh, this is going to be a boring session. I had so much work. I don't know why I have to stay, and blah, blah. So all those barriers, all those things go up. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about, in these next few slides, something that is very important for teachers: empathetic listening. What is empathy? Can you all type so that I get a few seconds break? Okay, putting ourselves in others' shoes. Okay, should feel, stepping in others' shoes, feelings, the emotions of others. Okay, good, good. Yes. At this point, I'm going to stop share and I'm going to actually play a little video, okay, for you guys. It's a YouTube video. Himani, can you all see and listen both? Anybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Go to the moon. Riley can't be done with me.
Hey, it's gonna be okay. We can fix this. We just need to get back to headquarters. Which way to the train station?
I had a whole trip planned for us.
Hey, who's ticklish, huh? Here comes the tickle monster. Hey, Bing Bong, look at this. Oh, here's a fun game. You point to the train station and we all go there. Won't that be fun? Come on, let's go to the train station.
I'm sorry they took your rocket. They took something that you loved. It's gone forever.
Sadness. Don't make him feel worse.
Sorry.
It's all I had left of Riley.
I bet you and Riley had great adventures.
Oh, they were wonderful. Once we flew back in time, we had breakfast twice that day.
Sadness.
Sounds amazing. I bet Riley liked it.
Oh, she did. We were best friends.
Yeah. Sad.
I'm okay now. Come on. The train station is this way.
So, what was the difference? Both those people, that girl and that cute little fellow, both of them came to him and expressed whatever they thought should be expressed. Okay. How Why does it say your screen sharing is paused? Can you see the screen? Yes?
Yes, ma'am. Maybe it's stopped. You can stop and share again.
Okay. You can see it?
Yes, ma'am. Now we can see it.
Yeah. So the second boy came, sat by his side, and said he understands. He's equally sad. He knows how much time he invested in doing that, in making that rocket, and now it's totally gone. I understand. I can actually imagine how you're feeling. So, then he opens up and he says what he needs to say. That little cute little video brings out, this is what happens many a time when students come to us. Okay. Everybody, yes, the second one could figure out how he was actually feeling. Christina Pradhan, I fully agree. Yeah, the boy tries to see the matter through the elephant's point of view. Absolutely. I don't know your name because it's only your mobile phone, some V21. But yeah, well put. Well put. Absolutely. So, in the classroom, this is what the child requires. The adults today do not have the patience. Parents, okay, teachers, we are all rushing. So we just need to be attentive to the student. Take an active approach. If words do not seem necessary, use non-verbal cues to let the child know that you understand their situation. Okay. You don't have to be verbose. You don't have to immediately start talking. Say, oh, yes, I know. Many a times this is what happens. No, don't give gyan. They don't want gyan at that point. See, we need a shoulder to cry. When you go over and talk to your friend about a problem, okay, it could be a school colleague or otherwise a friend, a good buddy with whom you share everything. What do you think is the actual reason why we share? We don't share simply because we are looking for a solution. At that point, there is so much inside us that is waiting to come out, bursting. Okay. And once we share, once we talk, we feel very light. And then towards the end, if the other person says, maybe you can try this, maybe you can do this, we might even consider at that point. But it was just a shoulder that we required to cry on. So that is what is empathy, just to provide your shoulder without giving any gyan, without giving your two-bit, because each person's situation is different. But what does empathetic listening do? When we just listen without any baggage, without saying, this child is like that. Today he is crying, but he must have done something. Okay, but that is the baggage we are carrying with us, right, about that child. Already we have that set thought process. Then it becomes a problem, isn't it? So, empathetic listening, we all know the definition, but very difficult to cultivate it as a habit. Okay, so we have to work a lot to become empathetic listeners. When the message we are receiving is informative, we take a different approach. Saying words like, I'm busy right now, we'll talk later, is fine if we talk and find out what is bothering them. As long as you are okay talking, if you genuinely talk later, then it's good. But if you don't, then the child feels cheated, right? So ways to become an empathetic listener: Recognizing that emotion is important. We can ask questions such as, I can see how this would upset you. Do you want to talk about your pain? Tell me about your concerns. It must be difficult to have a broken leg. But we should stop there. Instead of saying, you know what, last year I have also had a broken leg or a broken arm. Then what have you done? You have taken their thunder from them and made it yours. Many of us do that willy-nilly without realizing. Somebody comes, there was such a big problem today. This is what, oh, I also have the same problem. This happens with me very often. With you, looks like only today. She's coming and telling you something. Can you just pat her or his back and say, I know, I understand. It is very stressful in the morning. But anyway, good that you're here. Maybe we can talk about it later in the staff room. That way, that channel of communication is open. Today you do this, tomorrow they do that to you. They listen to you. So these are things which take time. We have to cultivate it over a period of time. So we need to show empathy. Why? Can you please type in the chat box? Now that you have, I know all of you know what empathy is, but maybe a little more elaborate understanding has happened today. So can you please type, why is it important that teachers show empathy? I don't know why some people are coming so late. Okay, so that we can connect more deeply with the students. Yes, Urvi, I agree. Students feel connected. Yeah, that's important. Yeah, they feel connected. They feel that there is somebody for them. True. Somebody is asking for the feedback link. I think you have already posted. Child will be able to share his feelings. Yes. You see, that channel of communication has to be opened up. The reason today, as I said a few minutes ago, that, that channel has to be there with parents, with teachers. Without fear, they should be able to say it. Yeah, give and take relationship begins, Jennifer. Yes, Jennifer. Okay, good. So what are the questions, when we are really thinking of empathy, what can all of us do? The last 1 week, especially in your interactions with the family, think of a specific occurrence of each of the different types of listening that you have used. Okay. We have talked about so many types, right? Last time, this time, intensive, extensive, okay, empathetic listening. So which type have you? So if you can, make a list for your own self, quick 2-minute thing that you can do. Okay, do you think you are a good listener, or do you often find yourself tuning out other people? Okay, tuning out, you are there physically, but you are not there mentally. That is tuning out. Okay, so children have done that quite a bit in the pandemic times when you were doing their online classes. Children tune out. They will be there. Okay, they will be seen on the screen because they require attendance. Their name will be there. Anyway, we are telling them, okay, mute their mic, we mute their mic, we don't want them on camera. So then the screen is there. How many are listening, how many are not, we don't know. So the tuning out happens. Do you think that you have a typical listening style? Okay, do you generally move from one type to the other? Do you use different types of listening with different people? Okay, so we move from one to the other. Sometimes we are listening intently. Sometimes we are listening for the overall gist, as I told you. Okay, so we use different styles at all the time. Okay, but to do this exercise about in the last 1 week with family, with you can do it, you can say about the class also in the last 1 week, your interactions, and genuinely you can answer for yourself. You don't have to share. Are you a good listener? If not, after these 2 sessions on listening, Anything that you really liked and you picked up and you would like to continue? How would you like to make your students good listeners? As an English teacher, take it upon yourself. I mean, as I said, all teachers should do things like dictation, reading. So I know of history teachers who have taught history lessons as stories, and they have been the most successful teachers. And they managed to convert so many students to taking history in class 11, because they would first come and ask her, are you going to be teaching us in class 11? Okay, I have had a teacher like that, and I have had students who have gone to her. It was surprising that when she was teaching 11th and 12th, the humanities batch was the biggest in our class. Okay. The same thing my daughter also experienced. She had a wonderful history teacher. So she took humanities, and history was one of the subjects, and she did very well in the board examination. So that is how the teacher, as teachers, we influence our children. We don't realize it, but we do it all the time. There are children who love you for what you are, and they do things because they take up subjects. So great, confident. I'm just reading the comments to just see what you teachers have written. Yeah, excellent. Sangeeta, Galaxy, and you should use your name, teachers. It's not good to use your phone, isn't it? So anyway, thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was really interesting. Even I was, making notes. That's why I turned off my camera so that I could just bed down and make my notes on this session.
Thank
Some
you.
really valid points which I felt was that when you are teaching how to develop listening skills, it doesn't matter what activity you do at which age. A lot of times we feel कि dictation है तो सिर्फ छोटे बच्चों के लिए है, बड़े बच्चों के लिए नहीं है.
Exactly.
बच्चे क्या करेंगे? There's a way of doing it. You have to find a way.
Yeah.
You have to modify it little
Correct.
here and there. And language is a habit. It's actually not a
Yeah.
skill that you develop.
Yes.
Even for us, it comes. I'm sure all the teachers here will agree with me that English comes naturally to you.
Yes.
You don't have. It's only possible to speak in a language or communicate in a language when you're comfortable to an extent that you don't have to make an effort.
When you are talking, Himani, or when English teachers here in the group are talking, the conversion of thought to speech, it happens in probably a millisecond. The thought and it's happening simultaneously. There's no time lag, if I may use the word. But when it's a learner who comes from a smaller town, a Madurai or an Agra or a small town of Bihar or UP, then the struggle is immense. Okay, so when we give them these kind of practice, so imagine even a dictation to a class 8 student is okay. They actually enjoy. It's a nice little fun activity, and it's a nice break they take. And then when you keep extending it, okay, look at the dictionary. When you say find the meaning, make sentence. So that itself, and all those words could be from the text that you are going to take up. So you have done a warm-up, you have done a pre-activity, actually, right?
Very true. Very. And also, I always remember that, when we were kids, we used to say, कि speech लिख लो. So I used to feel कि लिख लूंगी तो भूल जाऊंगी. If I don't write it and if I just understand something, it will be easier for me to express myself. Correct. Rather than writing. And even today, I can't write and read out something. That becomes very mechanical. Correct. If I'm talking just like that, it comes naturally to me.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I agree. So teachers, ma'am, I've got such nice feedbacks on the chat already. Thank you for such an informative session, such a lovely session, wonderful session, informative. So teachers, some of the teachers are writing, they're not getting OTP for the feedback link. You're already on a video call, right? So that makes the network go a little lower. So sometimes that might happen. Just try to do it after we close the session. It will be easier to do it then. And even then, if you have a problem, of course, you have our contact numbers and our WhatsApp number. You can drop us a WhatsApp and we'll take care of it from there. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody has any questions? If there are any questions.
Yes.
If there are any questions, I'll even allow you to unmute at this point.
Thank you, teachers, for the wonderful.
Ma'am, you'll unmute.
Yeah. Thank you for the wonderful feedback. Any questions?
Anything. Somebody joined just now.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyways, I'm not. Ma'am has answered.
all my questions. Okay.
Anyone else has any questions? Sometimes, you know what, actually it happens that you come to a session. Jessie ma'am, is there a question? You have certain thing in your mind and you like, this session, I hope I'm going to ask this.
Yeah,
And then as the session closes, it's automatically answered.
correct.
Anyone has any questions? Though again, the way Sudha ma'am talks, I think you don't get questions, you just get answers to all your thoughts and queries and doubts.
Mhm.
Still, if anybody has, Christina ma'am is a fan. She says yes.
Ah, okay.
Anyone else has any question? Any doubts, any queries, anything you've not understood?
Or if you get it later, feel free to share it with the
Please do.
Madhuban team and they will pass it on to
We'll
me.
take
and
it with them.
Yeah, more than happy to, thank you.
Thank you for addressal of this. Is it possible for us to ask children to do a silent reading?
Yes, silent reading comes later. Of course, it is for comprehension. It is for understanding the text, and that is the way forward later. But you start from basically doing listening, then loud reading, where, as I told you, the strategy is you read first so that they get the tone, the intonation, where to stop, how to use the language appropriately so that you break at the right place, so that the meaning is understood. If you break the written word at the wrong place, and I'm sure all of you have experienced this while reading newspaper or magazines, when you break something at the wrong place, then the meaning doesn't come out. Then you reread it, you think, oh, I think I made a mistake. And then you reread it, you get the meaning. Why do you think all these things happen? These happens because we are not breaking them at the right place. That's called chunking while reading. So how will they know where to chunk? How are we, and why are we, this is something I've never understood. Something really bothers me from here. Why are we expecting the children to know how to read when nobody has demonstrated to them how to read? So silent reading, yes, whosoever asked the question, is the way forward as we move to adulthood, as we are in class 9 upwards. But 1 to 8, the methodology has to be followed. Loud reading by the teacher, then 1-2 times at least, divide the lesson into 2 or 3 chunks, do loud reading, ask them to do model reading. That's called model reading by the students, and then they do silent reading.
That's interesting. And I agree with you, ma'am, that we expect children to read when nobody's actually taught them how to.
Yeah, exactly.
Demonstrated how to.
Especially, this whole thing, wo pichli class mein nahi sikhaya. Did teacher not teach you in the previous class? Are yaar, I mean, why? So this continues. So we are living in, and then we start off from where we have to. I have so much to do. I have the syllabus to cover. So CBSE is reiterating this. So let us all please concentrate on skill development, subject enrichment, okay? Look at competency-based assessment. All these activities, which I have spoken today, is nothing but competency-based assessment. Skill, you're assessing the competency. So one child may be at A competency, one may be at A1, some may be at C1 or C2. I'm talking on CEFR guidelines for language assessment. So in listening, some child may be able to listen a very tough passage where 2 people are talking and you play the recording for 3 to 4 minutes, and then you have made MCQs and they are all interpretative and inference-based MCQs. Then that child is at a very high level of listening. But then how will you know this when you have taken them through the process? सबसे पहले थोड़े जाके बिरयानी बना लोगे भैया किचन में, है ना? First you have to make that cup of tea and you make that Maggie. Okay, first learn to make that, and then you will make chai नहीं बनती बड़े लोगों से. Chai is very difficult to make good tea.
Very true. Good tea is very difficult.
Yeah, from the time I left Delhi, I have found very few people in Chennai who can make good tea, but they can make very good coffee. Okay, so it's a skill. So it's a skill. People who have worked on that skill are better at it. Why do you run to a particular tailor You're willing to go 10 kilometers away to give to him your blouse, but not to somebody who's sitting next door, because his skill of tailoring is better.
Is better.
You know, you can relate everything like that in real life. Any learning in the classroom can be related like that. We only have to start thinking like that. Okay.
Very true. Rajni ma'am, yes, we have a group and you can register to that group using this QR code. So if you want a link, I'll share the link also with you. Somebody from my team can share the registration link for the commune. So we have a group, the commune. You'll be added to the group once you scan this QR code and register yourself.
So,
I hope everybody's.
yeah. Are we done, Himani?
Yes. So
Yes.
there's a registration link that we've shared. And yes, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for the wonderful session. And
Thank
yes,
you, ma'am.
teachers, I didn't see a very heavy set of questions. But yes, if you have any questions going further, also do feel free to
Yeah.
get in touch with us. The registration link to the commune has been shared and the feedback link has been shared as well. Please make sure that you fill up and you register and join us in the group. You'll get regular feedbacks and regular inputs from our end on the commune group as well. Thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you so much, Sudha ma'am.
Thank you, Himani. Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Thank-
weekend. Enjoy.
Enjoy. Have a fabulous weekend, everyone. Bye.
Bye.